Hello, welcome to Juniper Level Botanic Garden, the home of Plant Delights Nursery. And I have a delightful thing to show you today. This is needle palm, a palm that is native to the southeast US, like Georgia, Alabama, I think maybe the panhandle of Florida. It's a rather rare native palm, and it's considered one of the most cold hardy palms. I know last century the National Arboretum in DC had plants out in the garden, unprotected, and they would sail through those cold winters in an earlier century. But the needle palms are either male or female. The grown-up word for that is dioecious, from di meaning two and eicious home, as in ecology, the study of home. And so we were thrilled this fall when we discovered that some of our female plants were loaded with fruit. Now, they're not, you wouldn't grow them for their fruit. The fruit sort of looks like a big pile of animal droppings, but see, that's one cluster of fruit there. And that's one cluster of fruit. Each individual fruit has one big seed inside. And I don't think they ever color up. I peeled, well, it looks a little bit like a itty bitty avocado. And take this fleshy part off. Normally what we would do would be feed them to the giant land sloth, and they eat them for that fleshy outer covering, and then because this under the cover is a really hard shell protecting the actual seed, they'd be excreted by the giant land sloth, and at that point we would collect them and sow them. The only problem is the giant land sloth went extinct, thousands of years ago, and so I haven't been able to process the seeds in that manner anymore. So we'll have to do it by hand. But we'll collect all of these anytime now, clean them, send them to the nursery, and hopefully get good germination and have needle palms to offer to our customers. See, there's other clusters of fruit. Some of the clusters of fruit are obscured by all the fallen leaves that have accumulated in the needle palm. And if you're wondering why these are called needle palms, I'll hold it against my shirt. You can see that is a typical needle. That's about 8-9 inches long. And you see they're all around the clusters of fruit. So they'll discourage the giant land sloth and other creatures from harvesting the fruit before it's ripe. And then when it gets ripe, they tough it out and harvest the seed. Now, I'm of course being stupid about the giant land sloth, but it is thought by scientists to have been one of the main means of dispersal of needle palm seed. And since the giant land sloth went extinct, the seed is not getting spread as far and wide, and that might be part of the reason why the plant is now rare in the wild. But needle palm typically grows with many stems. It's most commonly not a terribly tall palm. The stems don't get very tall, but it makes a whole cluster of them. It's a plant that you can grow in full sun, but I always think they're prettiest in shade because the plants grow sort of more open, and you can more readily see the individual frond. When they grow out in full sun, they grow so densely it just looks like a big pile of hay. but in shade they're very beautiful, or more beautiful. Just average soil, maybe slightly moist soil, not soggy. And in the wild they tend to grow on soils that have a lot of limestone in it, native limestone. But our soil is acidic, and they're very happy in mildly acidic soil as well. They're slow to develop any size, so your little plant is going to take 5 to 10 years before it looks like something, but it's really worth the wait because you'll have them forever. And this plant is, I'm guessing, about 20 years old. And let's look at a sable to show you how different the fruit display is on a sable palm. Already, go on. This is a selection of Sable minor, minor meaning small or smaller. And the Sable minor is known as the dwarf palmetto. The palmetto is Sable palmetto, which is the cabbage palm of South Carolina. This is a South Carolina state tree, and it develops a trunk, but Sable minor develops its trunk underground, and it'll be 6-8 inches wide and about 20 inches, maybe 30 inches deep. But they display their fruit or produce their fruit in a very different manner. Here the foliage is only about waist high, but the fruitscape is well over my head, so if it was standing upright it would be about 8 or 9 feet tall. But the fruit is turns a dusky black when it's ripe, and the birds will eat that. We harvest it before it's shed in the garden, because otherwise we end up with lots and lots of seedlings we have to dig out. But the inflorescence or infrutescence is quite attractive. In my own garden, I might leave them for the birds. And they're not terribly showy in bloom. The flowers are sort of translucent, pale, not a bright, sort of amber colored, a translucent amber, but they're one that the flowers are heavily visited by pollinating insects, so that's another feature of the sable palms. Well, perhaps enough about palms for today. Thank you for your time today, and I hope to see you again in the garden.